soon as President Bola Tinubu inaugurated his cabinet, we've seen a few of the ministers get into town and in some ways hitting the ground running. Some of them, what they have done simply is to take a tour around the agencies and parastatals of government under their ministry. One of such is the Ministry of Interior. The Minister of Interior, Honorable Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has been going around town looking at the agencies of government under his purview, which includes the Nigeria Correctional Service. We visited the Kuje Correctional Center, the Nigeria Immigration Service. We visited the headquarters in Abuja, the Federal Fire Service, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Civil Defense, Immigration, Prisons and Fire Service Board. All of these, the man has visited. But there is one thing that's gone viral since Standard Television put together that report of the minister's assumption of office and the tour. I'd like you to listen to what he said when he visited the immigration's office.
Nobody should come and use agreement or whatever as a booby trap. If you are ready to sit up, good. If you are not sitting up, then you get out. It's as simple as that. It is unacceptable. And I'm unapologetic about this. I'm very passionate about it. It is unacceptable for Nigerians to wait for months to get passport. For anybody that is interested in passport and can afford it, it's a right, not a privilege to Nigerians. It is a right, not a privilege. And we must look at the whole ecosystem. We must look at the whole walkthrough and be able to fill all loopholes, making sure that once again, the green bag, the green passport becomes a document of pride.
The Minister joins us live in our studio, Honorable Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, the Minister of Interior. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Chef, for having me.
The passion there is, that video has gone viral since Standard Television put forward that report of your visit. That shows the level of your passion. For a moment, you were taking off the Ministry of the Blue Economy, and a lot of people thought, there were talks about what you will do in that ministry. But when this came, it does look like you've been thinking and planning for this all your life. Is that the case?
Well, it's about, thank you, Sharon, and thank Nigerians for this opportunity. And may I especially thank the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for the opportunity of service. You know, it's a unique opportunity that he has given to us to contribute our quota to national development. I personally do not take that for granted, and it's an opportunity for us to make a difference and to contribute our quota and make sure that Nigeria once again regains its place in the Committee of Nations, the place of pride, you know, that we stand for as the biggest black nation on earth. Having said that, well, for me, it's about the passion, it's about understanding the task ahead, it's about keying into the renewed hope agenda of the president. The renewed hope agenda is very detailed, you know, it's very detailed yet simple for us, and it's like a Bible, it's like a guide, like a dictionary, you know, in terms of what we need to do to solve problems facing Nigerians, day-to-day problems, and that's what we're trying to do in the Ministry of Interior.
Interesting. You were so passionate. You say anybody that is not fitting in should get out.
That's true.
It does look to me that you have found out some rot in the system. Can you give us just a snippet of what you have found out? How bad are things?
Well, I always say this, God gave me my eyes to be in front, not to be at the back, because God wants me to look, you know, he wants me to look ahead and look for solutions, you know. Talking about the routes, Nigerians are not interested in the routes as far as I'm concerned. Nigerians are not interested in the problem statement. Nigerians are interested in solutions.
Well, how do you fix it if you don't know what the problems are?
We know the problems. We have, the last 2 weeks has been dedicated to getting these problems, understanding the whole ecosystem, as I said, knowing where the issues are, understanding the bottlenecks. But that's not what Nigerians want to hear from me. Nigerians don't want to hear problems. Nigerians want to see solutions. Nigerians want to be able to go into passport offices. Nigerians want to be able to get their passport at their convenience. Nigerians don't want to travel kilometers before they get things done. Nigerians don't want to risk their lives on the road just because they need a security document called passport. As I said, it's a right. It's not a privilege. Nigerians want that right to be actually theirs, not by virtue of somebody offering you your right. It is the right of Nigerians that are interested to have passport. So as far as I'm concerned, the problem statement is meant for us as administrators to understand, to digest. But what Nigerians want to see is solution. And that is what the president has constantly told us at every forum. He has always told us at every given opportunity that, hey, I didn't bring you on board. None of you ministers were brought on board to come and give excuses. I brought you on board to come and bring solutions to the table.
That's what we should be expecting from your ministry.
Exactly.
No excuses, performance and delivery.
Exactly. Taking a cue from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has said, no matter what it is, I asked for this mandate, and Nigerians have given me this mandate. The president gave us the rare opportunity, the privilege of a lifetime, to serve our motherland, to serve this country. He didn't give us this privilege to give excuses. He gave us the privilege for us to be able to bring solutions on board. And that's what we
Let's talk about solutions now. And the passport matter is a very key one. I mean, even outside of this country, Nigerians renewing their passport is hellish. Now, let's talk about Nigerians wanting to renew their international passport. You said that it is not a privilege. It is a matter of rights for every citizen of Nigeria who wants to carry the green passport to be able to carry it with ease.
Pride.
Do you know how long it takes? Maybe I should give you an understanding, because some of us who are ordinary Nigerians, we know what it takes us. It takes a minimum of 3 months to get a passport out. Since you got into office, what assurances are you giving to Nigerians?
Shem, can I tell you this? You said ordinary Nigerian. We are all ordinary Nigerians.
But you're an honorable minister.
I'll give you.
You're just one out of the about 40 of you.
I'll give you.
So you're not ordinary like us.
I'll give you an example. My own daughter waited for months to get passport, even as a serving member of the House of Rep. I feel what Nigerians feel. And that is one of the reasons why we're saying, in line with the directive of the president, it can no longer be business as usual. We have critically analyzed all the scenarios, the whole walkthrough, the whole process, from the point of going online to fill the form online, to the point of payment, to the point of picking a date, to the point of biometrics, to the point of issuance of passport. We have gone through the whole process.
How long?
And we understand.
If it takes about between 3 and 6 months.
Just a minute, Shil. And we understand the service providers that are involved. We have analyzed the roles of the service providers. We have also analyzed the roles of immigration service. And we have been able to see one or two things that we need to put right, so that Nigerians once again can smile, knowing fully well that the green passport is a thing of pride that you should get with dignity, you should get with ease. And I have said this, it is completely, it's not excusable for any Nigerian to be treated with disrespect, either in Nigeria or in diaspora. That's the truth.
But Minister, what are you doing to shrink the wait time? How long do you think, since you have gotten to office now, do you think it should take naturally to get an international passport out?
Well, I have to be very categorical. And this is the instruction that I've given to the Immigration Service. I do not see anything in the short term. I don't think clearing out backlogs, it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks.
To get an international passport
That's my fair assessment.
There are those who believe that it is actually insecure for Nigeria to put issuance of international passport in the hands of private sector. There are private sector in the mix. This is getting out, is a security document for some reasons, because it's an identity typical to every citizen. Putting it in the hands of a third party, because we understand that the immigration service and the passport unit of the immigration service cannot fulfill that mandate all by itself. It has to engage a private sector to do that. Are you still going ahead to make sure to see that that continues, or what are you doing?
Well, let me tell you this very clearly. I don't think that assertion is completely right, and I think, let's be fair to the Immigration Service. You know, we need to criticize them when we need to criticize them, but nevertheless, we need to be fair to them. The Immigration Service issues passports. That's the fact. do we have vendors, private sectors in the mix? For instance, on the issue of production and supply of booklets. Yes, we do.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hold on, that's for booklet. Immigration Service is responsible for personalization. And I said something when I went to Immigration Service, I said we're reviewing all this vis-a-vis security risk, national interest, and so many issues, looking at the agreements and looking at how to solve these problems. But the simple truth I want to assure you, and that's what I think Nigerians should be comfortable with, is the fact that by the grace of God, we give them all the assurance of His Excellency the President that we will unbottle all bottlenecks. That's number one. And number two, we will unbottle these bottlenecks without jeopardizing or sacrificing national security. You can be rest assured of that.
You said Nigerians going forward will be proud to hold the green passport.
Yes.
And the Minister for Digital Economy has been heavily criticized when at some point it was attributed to have said, oh, the passport, the green passport is worthless considering how people perceive. And I mean, you are the Minister of Interior. In the United States is the Ministry of Homeland. That is the equivalent of that ministry. In terms of giving Nigerians the pride of place as a citizen of this country, what are you doing in that respect?
Number one, we're doing a lot. I mean, we have a lot in the pipeline. And as I said earlier today on the program, I said very clearly, we're coming up with a work plan, and we're going to come up with KPIs, key performance indicators, and we're going to have our timelines, and we're going to carry the civil society and, of course, the media along. We want Nigerians to be able to judge us. Nigerians should be able to mark our scorecard. We should be able to give us a scorecard after every quarter. This is what we aim to achieve under the leadership of the president. So number one thing that I think we need to do is that, first of all, as Nigerians, we need to learn to treat ourselves with respect. And that can be seen, as I always say, the first image maker of this country are immigration officers. When foreigners want to come to Nigeria, they apply for visa. Who do they see at that point? Immigration officers. When they come into Nigeria at the airport, the first point of contact, immigration officers. We need to learn to treat ourselves with a bit of respect. Treat Nigerians, knowing fully well that being in uniform does not give you the opportunity, does not give you the right to abuse and trample on the right of average Nigerians. That's the one. Then number two, we must also do our best, as I said earlier today, remove, if possible, to the barest minimum, we must remove human contact. That's the truth. This is 2023. This is the era of technology. I'm an IT person. I've done IT, information technology, all my life. This is 2023. There is absolutely no reason why the human factor should play such a critical role in some of these things. For instance, I'll give you an example. Where does corruption set in terms of issue of passport? People go to immigration offices to be able to go and do biometrics. A lot of people will have to pay to lobby to even get a date to do some of these things. These are things that can be automated through a simple queuing system, queuing solution application. We can do all these things. And basically, we can also, that most of our post offices all around, I have told the Immigration Service, if there's a need for us to increase our front offices, for instance, we have post offices all around. We could go into partnership with post offices and be able to use those places as even enrollment centers. It will interest you, maybe Lagos has only 4 enrollment centers also. This is a state of about over 20 million people. It's unacceptable anywhere in the world. So we can make use of our post offices. We can even go into partnership with some of our financial institutions, the banks and whatever, and be able to see how to bring this solution closer to the people. That people don't need to travel. People don't need to queue. When there is scarcity, there is always tendency for corruption because people cannot wait on the queue, so they have to shun the queue.
So we
have to digitalize the whole place, and we have to also decentralize the whole enrollment system. We have to decentralize the whole enrollment system and make it at least people can walk into the nearest post office. People can walk into maybe financial institutions and so many other. We're still playing with so many ideas. We were to hold a meeting today, but we're unable to because of the strike. But I'm sure that on Thursday we'll be holding a meeting, myself and Immigration Service and the service providers, to be able to come come out effectively with definite timelines, with definite solutions to this. But I can assure you, we will definitely. I'm passionate about this. I'm committed to this because the president is committed to this. The president is worried. He feels the pains of Nigerians. He's worried that Nigerians should not see a right as a privilege. He is bothered. He is concerned. He is passionate about this. And as a minister in this government, it is my responsibility to make sure that I help the president to fulfill his aim of making sure that he brings succor to an average Nigerian.
So 2 weeks, you said, Nigeria, within the next few weeks, we should see a situation where the backlog has been
what we're trying to do.
And in 2 weeks, you should be able to
let me say this very clearly. What we're trying to do is that I have given them instruction. I need to know the number of backlogs that we have in every passport office. That is number one. We need to know. And within a specific period, we need all this backlog taken care of. Henceforth, after clearing this backlog, no Nigerian should wait for more than 2 weeks.
Because they say that there is no enough materials to get. That's what you hear. And they will say, the reason you cannot get dates. In fact, when you apply online, they'll give you a date of maybe next year.
Because that is what I'm saying.
Those are the issues.
No, these are the things I'm telling you, Shehu. Because the demand outweighs the supply. That scarcity, indirectly, when the demand is more than the supply. Where you have I think just about four, if I'm not wrong, about 4 centers in Lagos, a state of over 20 million people, is unacceptable. So the 4 centers are obviously overstretched. No, I think they're about 4. Okay. So, but now they're overstretched. So by virtue of that, because Nigerians are desperate, they want to get this thing. They want to get their right. So automatically corruption comes in. So when we remove that, when we decentralize the whole process, then we remove the incentive for corruption. When you remove the incentive for corruption, definitely things will fall in line and people will be able to have this with the easiest of ease.
Because identity, it's also very mind-boggling how Nigerians will have to be bothered and pressured to carry different identity cards. There is an international passport, there is a national ID, there is a driver's license, and all of these agencies of government are getting your data and they are not being able to coordinate it. Is the NIMC, the Nigerian Information Management,
Nigerian
Identity Management,
National
Identity Management, is it under your purview?
Yes, it's just been moved to Ministry of Interior, and this is part of the thinking of government, which to me makes a lot of sense, because when you look at even in South Africa, when you look at Kenya, when you even look at Pakistan, when you look at the US, when you look all over, it is normally, identity management is normally domiciled in under the Ministry of Interior. It's always like that.
So it's a security issue.
It is.
Are you thinking of how NIN can be a standardized identity, just like you have in the United States or in some other climes where every Nigerian must have an identity? Every citizen rather in the US, in other climes, you have an identity, your social security number, which allows you to be able to have access to social facilities and welfare facilities in the country. But in Nigeria, you have different identities. What are you thinking in that line for a standardized identity for every Nigerian?
Well, let me say this. There are 2 different things, and I have to say this. Number one, are Nigerians entitled to carry 2, 3, 4 identities? Yes, they are. Let's get that straight. Even in the US, even in the UK, you can have your passport, you can have your driver's license, you can have whatever identity. There's no law that says you can't carry more than 1 or 2 identities. But what you're talking about is unification of the data. That's what you're talking about, harmonization of data, and we're passionate about that. As part of our mandate, as part of what we want to do as objective things we want to achieve, I call it SPOC, single point of contact for data harmonization. We should be able to harmonize our data, including the banks, including road safety, including even INEC, including anything that involves biometric data, NIMC, because by law it is written in the NIMC, and NIMC is responsible for the management of identity. Identity management is responsibility of NIMC. But today I just had a meeting with the DG, the new DG of NIMC, very, very brilliant and intelligent lady. We sat down today to come up with plans of harmonizing the data such that it will reduce cost to government in terms of enrollment cost and whatever. That's number one. Then number two, it gives us a single point of access, you know. Then number three, it also makes issue of identification quite easy, you know. And number four, it also helps us in national planning and national development. So we know who you say, we know that you are who you say you are. And also, if you have a functional NIN, as I've always said, that is responsive, that you trust the integrity, whatever, it can even help us to it can even save us of even the money we are spending on biometric enrollment, even in passport. It can help us in biometric enrollment, even in voters, INEC registration and couple. So it helps government.
So, Minister, are children or people are from birth, because you have your birth registration if you're born in the hospital. Yeah. So are every Nigerian at birth, would they be able to have access to the NIN, to have an identity? Or at what point will a Nigerian be able to have the identity?
No, those are part of the nitty-gritty of what we're trying to work on, because at birth, I don't think that is possible yet, you know, because of the biometric issues, you know. So that at birth, no, not at this moment.
So I imagine that every Nigerian that is born should have its own identity.
No, definitely, that's under National Population Commission. You know, they're responsible for registration of birth and even death. You know, that's National Population Commission and whatever. But the most important thing is, I don't think we need to put too many things, you know, on the burner at the same time. You know, the first thing we need to do is, first of all, how do we make sure that, I think we have over 100 million, about 100 million IDs, you know, in the database of NIMSI. How do we make sure that they are clean, they are dependable, they are verifiable, and of course, they have integrity. So once we first of all clean the database and we're sure of that, then we're not talking about harmonization of all available database, making sure of cross matches and ensuring that we're all on the same page and on the same template. Then after that, we can now start thinking of other solutions. But I think we should take it one after the other.
Let me take you quickly on two issues before we wrap up. One is expatriate quota. And the idea of expatriate quota is for the purpose to enable employers to recruit employment opportunities that are not available, that the capacity are not available by Nigerians to get people out of the country. But this has usually and oftentimes been misused by companies. Some companies who are not owned by Nigerians, and jobs that Nigerians can do usually bring expatriates to the country to take the jobs of Nigerians, and it's under the purview of the Ministry of the Interior. What are you going to do about that?
Well, I'll tell you what we're doing, because since I came on board, I've seen some requests, you know, for approval of expatriate quota. Some I think Nigerians can do, and it's all about the will to do what is right. Then number two is that we have to also try to enhance our requirements, you know, for approval of expatriate quota. For me, it's about doing what is right for the benefit of this country. Any job that you think Nigerians can do should not be outsourced to foreigners. That's the only way we create jobs for our people. That's number one. Then number two, we must also understand that even when there are special skills that we do not have, as part of granting the expatriate quota, there must also be what we call knowledge transfer, because we can't continue to use foreigners for those particular skills forever. So we have to think about, okay, we want to give you this approval for 2 years. Within these 2 years, you should have been able to transfer these skills to a Nigerian, you know, over a period of time and whatever. So we are looking at the whole policy. It's part of what we're trying to do, looking at the whole policy and probably amending the policy to make sure that the rights of Nigerians to employment are fully protected, and unemployment in Nigeria is reduced to the barest minimum. And at the end of the day, we make it almost which would discourage companies. It will interest you, not even foreign companies alone. Some of the expatriate quota requests that I've gotten are even from Nigerian companies.
Indigenous companies?
Yes, indigenous companies.
Owned by Nigerians?
Yes, owned by Nigerians, requesting for some
jobs that are possibly
that I know
that Nigerians have
can
capacity
do. You know, I wouldn't want to mention some of the details, but ridiculous request. But nevertheless, we have to understand, as I have said,
Minister,
that we have to be fair to Nigerians, and we must make sure that where in rare instance when these skills are not available in-house. And there's evidences that these skills are not available. Once we're even approving the expatriate quota, we must attach what we call knowledge transfer policy. You must be able to transfer this policy to Nigerians. I don't see why an expatriate should do a job for 2 years, renewable for another 2 years, for another. Some have done jobs for, they've renewed more than 2, 3 times, 6 times. That's about 6 years, 8 years. Are you telling me that no Nigerian is intelligent enough to take up that responsibility if well tutored and well? So we have to look at all these things.
I mean, there are a lot of responsibility under your office, and if we go on about that, we're going to spend the whole day. But there's one more question I'd like to ask you. Although I would like to have asked you about the NSCDC, but that's going to be for another day. But my final question to you is about the congestions in the correctional facilities, who are popularly called the prisons in Nigeria. It is mind-boggling, and you have said also in that when you are making your tour that it is not supposed to be so. What are the immediate steps you're taking, just for us to wrap up? Okay, number one, we're working very closely. I have to give you some statistics first of all. The Nigerian Correctional Service, we have over 80,000 inmates at the moment, and of course, most of our correctional centers are overstretched. For example, I'll give you the example of Kuje Correctional Center. Built for 520 people, today has 682 people. You know, that's obviously over capacity, and that's the way it is in most of our correctional centers. And it will interest you that more than 70%, from various statistics, we said there's 76, 78%, but I just want to be modest and say 70% of these inmates are awaiting trials. That is mind-boggling, and that is not sustainable. So what we're trying to do is to work very closely with the Ministry of Justice and, of course, the Legal Aid Council, you know, and the Nigerian Correctional Centers to be able to look at possibilities and areas in line with the Administration of Criminal Justice, SCGS. So let's see how we can decongest while following the law, making sure that we don't run foul of the law. That's number one. Then number two is that when we look at the Correctional Service Act, there are two responsibilities for correctional centers. Number one is the custodial service and the non-custodial service. But we interest you that all we have working in Nigeria today is the custodial service. The non-custodial part of the law had not yet been implemented, and that's what we're looking at implementing. What that involves is that, okay, it's not everybody that should be in correctional centers, like we have overseas. Some community service, yeah. Some of them home service, trackers, and you know, some of the. So we're looking at that particular aspect because we look at your offense, especially if it's awaiting trial, some petty offenses, and we'll now be able to put you in non-custodial centers, maybe at home or whatever, and be able to track you, and some community services. So there are a lot of reforms that we're trying to bring, because this is something the correctional service is one I'm extremely passionate about, because it deals with human rights of people and it deals with the future of people. These correctional centers should be correctional in nature, not a place for condemnation, not a place you go and you become hopeless, not a place that you go and you become lifeless, not a place that you go and you become featureless. That is not our dream. That is not the Nigeria of our dream. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has always said it is hope for all, renewed hope for all Nigerians, regardless of where you are, regardless of how vulnerable you are, regardless of how strong you are. Once you are in Nigeria, it's renewed hope all the way. And we believe from the Ministry of Interior, that message must be made loud and clear, even to our inmates. The Minister for Interior, Honorable Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, many thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And I wish you the very best. It's your early days. One cannot get too critical about, because you just hitting the ground, and hopefully you will get things running. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you.